To investigate the status of LGBTQ+ rights in Minnesota, we turn to City Council President Andrea Jenkins. An overwhelming amount of bills affect LGBTQIA+ students in the classroom. To get a better grasp of the experience of LGBTQIA+ students and educators in the school system, we spoke with Troy Wildenberg, an organizer of the YMCA Beacons at Roosevelt High School and a liaison with queer youth. While both interviewees acknowledged Minnesota's progress on the front of trans and gay rights, they also both spoke on the work that still needs to be done, specifically about the public housing crisis happening here.
We have a very large LGBTQIA+ community.
Yeah.
One of the things that we don't have in this city, and which is a sore point for me, we don't have an LGBTQIA+ community center. And I think particularly for young people, it's really an important thing to have in a community. And I said particularly young people, but young, gender nonconforming, transgender, non-binary identified young people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you're young and you're coming out, you kind of need the support of community in order to walk through some of these really difficult challenges. And so I've been working with a number of people around the Twin Cities, and hopefully we'll start working with people around the country to create a community center in this community that is fully supportive and inclusive of the LGBTQIA+ community, along with specific housing for trans and gender nonconforming young people, because that is one of the biggest problems I think we have in this city is affordable housing for gender nonconforming, non-binary, trans people.
According to them, the lack of affordable housing here in Minnesota is an intersectional issue, one that disproportionately affects LGBTQ+ youth specifically, as well as people of color. Because of this, they cite it as one of the most pressing issues facing Minnesota's queer community.
I mean, like, here's the thing, like, materially speaking, it's still really, really hard to find affordable housing in this city. Queer young people are the most overrepresented population within homeless populations. So it's like, as a city, our ability to have equitable, affordable housing is a queer rights issue because we sit at the intersections of that struggle.
Although work still needs to be done, these queer professionals are still extremely proud of the impact they've been able to have. Having this kind of trans representation in politics and in education has proved to not only be productive, but rewarding.
Honestly, my favorite part of my job is my young people. They are all amazing, and they're so just like thoughtful and engaging, and they constantly keep me on my toes and always push me to think about the world differently from new perspectives. So yeah, my young people, they're the best part.
The battle against homophobic and transphobic political action is a difficult one, but stories like these make it worth it. In a country where sections of the population believe that people like Troy and Andrea shouldn't exist, their defiance and commitment to their profession is all the more inspiring.
Young people are at the forefront of the Black Lives Matters movement, the whole George Floyd scenario. We would have never known about that had not a 17-year-old young woman who won a Pulitzer Prize as a citizen journalist named Darnella Frazier, who had the foresight to take a video of that horrific, traumatic situation where she watched a man literally being killed, murdered. My hope is that people, young people in particular, stay engaged in public and civic life. I think the way we are gonna make systemic change in this society is through being engaged in electoral politics. Yes, we have to march. Yes, we have to make noise to bring attention to those issues. But then we need people in places, positions of power to make the change. Once the noise has been made, once the problems have been identified and pointed out, who's going to fix it? So we need young, trans, gender nonconforming, LGBTQIA+, disabled people in those roles, in those positions to be decision makers as we try to keep moving human progress forward. That's my hope.
Little by little, we can change the nationwide narrative. A better future for queer and trans youth is out there, and it's being made possible by hundreds of LGBTQ+ leaders, adults and kids alike. This community and this change is more than just an idea. They are youth, they are children, they are siblings, parents, and friends. Queer is everywhere. We are everywhere, and we cannot be erased.
It's not about being politically correct. It's not about saying the right thing. It's about honoring who people actually are. And I hope that someday our conversation can move beyond like, here's what we should say because it's what we're supposed to do, versus like, here's what we should say if we're actually trying to be in community with other people, because if we're not speaking and behaving and acting in ways that honors other people, we are systematically isolating them from our communities.